Hey guys, welcome to Watch On Weekly. So this week I'm going to basically be doing a sort of review of my AirPods. So if you're wondering what my AirPods actually are, my AirPods are Apple AirPods. They are the Bluetooth headphones from Apple, basically. They are these revolutionary, Apple headphones. They are Bluetooth, so you don't need to plug them into your phone, e.g. the headphone jack is now gone, so yeah. And also, they don't have wires between the headphones. You kind of need to see the headphones on Google Images to know what I'm talking about, to know exactly what I mean. But if you can hear the case, there you go. That's the sound of them. Cool. And yeah, so basically, I think they're quite an interesting. I'm sort of debating whether they are an investment or a complete waste of money. So yeah, I got these headphones just because I really liked them and I thought they're super interesting, and I'm a bit of an Apple fanboy. So yeah, this is episode 2 of investment versus consumption. So yeah, basically I'm going to explain what are AirPods, why do I need them, and why do I like them. So with AirPods, they are basically Bluetooth headphones, blah blah blah. Super easy to carry around. They have a lot of really cool features, what I think are really cool. And it's something that really, it takes a step up from Bluetooth headphones, because normal Bluetooth headphones, they have the pause, the play button, the volume, all that, if they have that. And that's cool and all, but the one where I'm making the argument for these ones is these ones. They sort of present a more... They have a lot more control when it comes to, say, things like you can tap on the side of one to, say, play it or pause it or go to the next song, but you can only pick one of the options, so it is slightly limited with options. But say if you don't mind talking out loud to yourself, I personally have bound play pause on the right AirPod, so you tap on it twice, and I have Siri on the left one, so I can just tap Siri and I can say anything like next song, volume to 80%, play this podcast, whatever, all those kinds of things. So yeah, that's basically what they do. And also one thing that I really like that what they do is when you take one out, it pauses, which, it's cool because, and then when you put it back in, it plays again. So it's very, it's quite savvy, It really does, like when I'm in situations where I am just listening to stuff, like when I'm going to the gym, there's always a person at the front desk and you say hi, maybe have a conversation. It's really easy. You just walk in, you're carrying a bunch of stuff, carrying your pre-workout, all that kind of stuff. Then you just whip an earphone out, they pause. It's pretty solid. So yeah, that's mainly why I love them, because they're so convenient. They're not made to be like high quality sound and high quality microphone. The sound and the microphone quality are really good, but I'll settle for quite trash quality, to be honest. So it's like, and one drawback is they're quite expensive. In US dollars, I believe they're like $160. In New Zealand dollars, I believe they're $269. So they're quite expensive. But personally, I think I'm going to be honest, they're not an investment, because I already had Bluetooth headphones. Because the reason I think Bluetooth headphones are so good is because when you're traveling, you can listen to things and it's not annoying with headphones. And I feel like once I made the jump to Bluetooth headphones, everything changed, and especially in the gym. Because when you're in the gym, it's so annoying having a wire going to your phone. I literally can't imagine going to the gym with a pair of wired headphones anymore. I just can't imagine that. And it sounds so like stupid, but it really does make a lot of difference. But yeah, so I know this isn't like the most informational episode, but personally it's just something that I wanted to cover, because I think these things are quite cool. Because yeah, and now basically with the audiobooks and podcasts, I think that it's such an easy way to read books, in quotations, and personally I do think it's just as good as reading a book, but maybe not if you're doing the thing where you listen to it on 3 times speed. I was watching this thing on YouTube the other day. It was by Forbes. I think it's called 30 for 30. Basically, they investigate a guy who's really productive, And there's this one guy who he said he woke up in the morning, exercise, all this normal stuff, and then while walking to work, he listens to an audiobook at 3 times speed, which is something that I was just like, that's stupid. Okay, like I personally listen at 1.25 times speed or 1.5 times speed, but 3 times speed is all good and jolly, but it's like there's a certain point where you need to give your brain time to comprehend what you're listening to, and I think that is quite important. So yeah, but I think it's a really easy way to get through a ton of audiobooks. I didn't really read books until I listened to audiobooks, which is because I feel like reading is kind of unproductive. Like unless you're really reading a book that is super productive, I just feel like it's not that efficient. So yeah, basically the sort of audiobooks that I do listen to, I'll just get up a list of audiobooks that I really do love listening to. Some of my favorite ones are things like audio biographies, because they are things that you can really get involved in, especially when you're just walking. Some other great audiobooks are things like The Art of War. I really like books on stocks while I'm traveling, because that's something that I can they're quite complex books and they really do keep you interested. But I think biographies are great. Things like Smarter, Better, Faster, What I Learned Losing $1 Million. Kevin Hart's book is actually surprisingly good. I did not expect that. The 50th Law, like stuff like the 48 Laws of Powers, 48 Laws of Power. I'll leave a link in this podcast in the show notes to a blog post that I made about sort of my favorite books for productivity and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, stuff like Muhammad Ali's book is actually pretty good as well, and The Crossroad by Mark Donaldson. I didn't expect that one to be that good, but that one is really good and really hard hitting. Some of the podcasts that I really think are quite good. There's this one podcast called Cortex. It's sort of like a jokey podcast where it's a very James Walsham podcast, if you know me. It's a very classic podcast. It basically, they talk a lot about Apple, and they talk about productivity and sort of workflows. And I don't understand really what a workflow is, but I guess maybe it's some Apple thing. I don't really understand it, but that's one thing that I want to get more interested in and sort of learn more about, because these people seem to know a bit about workflows and I don't even know what they are. But yeah, personally, I also like this podcast called Hello Internet, but it's not really a productive podcast. But I find just in general, even if you don't want to be productive while traveling, because personally I am not going to get a car for a while now, just because I'm a uni student, and you save so much money when you don't have a car, because say if you spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on a car, then you got to do gas, and then say if your car breaks down, I hear so many people's cars break down, and instead of that you can just spend a few dollars a day on the bus. Like busing, especially in New Zealand and Auckland, is so cheap. It's ridiculously cheap, and it's so easy as well, because we have a bunch of apps that help us out. So yeah, I spend a bit more time traveling. I'd say you probably double the time if you use public transport, but to me it's worth it, just because I still get things done by like listening to podcasts. Or also another thing that you can do while traveling to sort of get things done is listen to audiobooks. And I think that's really, not listen to audiobooks, do some Quizlet or do some other thing on your phone that is genuinely productive, not like Instagram. But yeah, some of the other podcasts I like, the Joe Rogan Experience, that's a really, really good one. The Tim Ferriss Show, I do think that's quite good, but sometimes I'm not a fan of the way he interviews, but that's just for it being me being very picky. Yeah, so basically, if you don't have Bluetooth headphones, I think they really are a game changer. So yeah, if you were thinking about investing in Bluetooth headphones, I would say do it. You might not want to get the AirPods, but for me, I'd say they were worth it, but I don't think they're an investment. But it's just a little toy for me to play with, and I think they're very, very fun, especially if you have Apple. If you don't have Apple, then I don't know how productive they are. Like I have MacBook and the iPhone, so it's very easy for me to make this feel useful, because I can literally just turn on the sound thing and then it'll just sync my AirPods will connect to either my MacBook or my iPhone. And it's just very seamless, especially if you're on Apple. So yeah. And also if you're an Apple fanboy, you'll froth quite a bit. So yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know I'm not really putting out too many good quality episodes right now. Mainly the reason for that is, 1, I'm being quite lazy. 2, I'm focusing mainly on my exams. Because my exams next 2 weeks, basically. After the 3rd of November, I'm done exams. Then it's time to just podcast hustle, get the hustle on for the podcast, get the hustle on in the gym, all those kinds of things where I can sort of shift my energy towards, instead of all of it going to uni, or like 99% of it going to uni. But yeah, hope you guys are having a wonderful week. Hope you can go be productive. If you're thinking about buying some AirPods, buy some. Yeah, I'd love if you would leave a review, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Thank you very much for listening, and have a good night.